Hello, I'm back. I've been busy. Got a new mug. So what I did for the last 3 weeks was I took 3 weeks to get a new mug to drink my milk out of. I really don't want to spill like last time. You can see it in there. Um, no, but uh, there's something on my mind that I want to talk about, so I'm gonna do it. Um, the absence of love is fear, in the same way that the absence of heat is cold, right? Um, I think it's important to not draw like definite distinctions, to compartmentalize the things of the spirit and the things of the physical world, um, and to have a good understanding that the ways and that these things have relations with each other, um, that the relationships are mimicked in a tangible material world as well as in the spiritual world as well. Love and fear being a spiritual concept, right? And like hot and cold being more like something like measurable, that's tangible. Um, in the same way that like you have like Newton's second law, which is like equal and opposite reaction, right? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. You've had, like um, the sort of like moral rule of like, eye for an eye, right? Um, or like tit for tat, you do this, and then like that's what gets done to you. Treat others how you want to be treated. Like, I hope you see the connection there, what I'm talking about. But one is like something that you would measure with like a, I don't know, some sort of tool, and the other one is like a spiritual, moral type of way of understanding the natural law, um, that we're subject to. More importantly, that like our hearts, our spirits are subject to that natural law, that law that's like written on your heart, right? Um, Now, um, and then that's one example. Hot and cold, fear and love. That's another relationship. And I could sit here and like come up with a few more, and I'm probably just forgetting some more. But if you really want, you can keep drawing the connections between these things endlessly, because that's how they were created. So, once you have a firm understanding that this is like woven into existence, woven into creation, then you start to see like, oh wow, like there's the fact that these things align so well. There's a pattern here, right? Um, there's a pattern that keeps repeating itself, and typically, right, like um, patterns aren't like, when you look at like patterns, you don't go, oh, that's just you can't dish that off to randomness, right? Like if you see behavioral patterns, right, a pattern that keeps repeating itself, you would look at that. Any scientist would look at that and be like, oh, there's a pattern here. What caused it, right? Or like if a person, right, growing up in a certain area has a pattern of committing a certain crime, well, it's like, okay, like why is this pattern present in this person and their behavior? And then if you go back and be like, oh, well, there's something from their childhood or something like that caused it, or some sort of traumatic event or experience, right? So when you start to see these patterns, any rational person goes, oh, well, that's because there's something before that caused it to be that way. That kind of set that in motion. If you could apply that sort of logic, right? Because you're not applying logic to the person, you're applying logic to the outcome, to like the understanding of their patterns. It's bigger than the person. It's explaining behavior in a general sense. anecdotally it's about one person, but like you can take that, right, that pattern recognition, you can apply that to anybody, right, to pretty much anything. So once you acknowledge that, and I think most people really do, anybody in the intellectual community does, feels almost silly not to, is that like then once you start noticing the patterns between physical and spiritual concepts, right, um, it's like now are you gonna walk that back? Are you gonna be like, oh wow, there's patterns here too, you know, that exist in both of these different types of planes of existence, right? And so, like, what put all these patterns in place? If you think it's just something random, right? You're, uh, I mean, I guess it's what you think, but I don't think that at all. I think that's really important. Um, and I want to focus a little bit more on the first idea that I brought up, which, like, you know, being like the um, like hot and cold and fear and love, right? Um, chaos, order, right? Like all of these things, it's like you can't have one without the other, really. That's how they would, you know, like can't have north without south. Um, but it's really saying like it's really not like that. It's a little bit. It's not as binary is not the right word, but like you can have heat, right? Like cold isn't really a thing. It's not real. It's just an absence of something that is real, right? That is real. It's just an absence of another thing. And the way you know it's not real is that it's all subjective, right? Like one person might say like, "Oh, I'm cold right now," because there's a degree of an absence of heat. But for somebody, they might be like, "No, I don't feel cold at all." So it's not about like, "Oh, there is cold that doesn't exist," right? Like um, there is only heat or there is not heat, and we use cold as a word to describe that state of no heat, right? But nothing's there. It's just a vacuum. Um, and the same thing with fear and love. Fear is not real. Um, Now, with the brilliance of the human mind, you can the absence of love in your life can then become a self-fulfilling prophecy of fear, where you've now created a boogie monster. You live with fear, and then because you project that into your life, then you draw conclusions based on that, and then that validates your initial fear, and then that causes that lack of love and that like higher intensity level of fear to increase, and then project more and manifest more into your life, and then it just becomes like a feedback loop. But none of it's actually real. All it is just what's real, or what's true, I should say, not what's real, but what's because that is real, but it's not true. It's not based in truth. What's true is that what you're experiencing is simply just an absence of love. Um, so it's like, how do you fill that space, right? Like nobody who, if you really live in a place of love and you're connected to love and the ultimate source of love being God, Jesus Christ, right? Then like connecting to that, right? Being in touch with that, you your heart will be warmed by the fire, by the light of the Holy Spirit. You won't live in the cold or the fear because you'll have the heat, you'll have the love, right? And then you go, okay, well, then how do I do that? How do I make sure that there is like there is heat there? And the beauty of having a relationship with God is that He really does all the heavy lifting for you. All you really have to do is just get out of His way. It's not to say that God isn't powerful enough to like work his way into your life, and he does for a lot of people. Of course, he does, but he also has given us free will, and he wants us to love him freely because that's like redundant because you can't love anything without the freedom of loving it. Like you have to the decision to love it is part of what makes love in the first place, right? You can't force somebody. So God wants to he tries to nudge us in the right direction, right? But he wants really to us to come to him at a certain point. And he'll have his arm extended to you the whole time, but he wants you to make some gesture back, right? Um, so how do you do that, right? Well, if your heart is cold and empty and you live in fear, right? It's not that there's fear in your heart, it's just that there is no love or you're lacking it, right? So get rid of the notion of fear in the first place. Now I get it. There's like there's, physiologically speaking, it's hard to just like completely rid of it. We're still bound to the flesh, but just bear with me. Like, um, getting taking the space in your heart and removing the things in your life that get in the way of God's love, right? So, really, like, if the things you keep in the heart in your heart are the things that you are attached to, right? The things that you like safeguard that you keep, right? And like the simplest, the lowest hanging fruit of that is like your possessions, like your car or like your gaming computer, right? The things you care about, your Razer mouse and keyboard, your cup of milk. But then you take all the way to the top, and now it's like family relationships, or just like relationships with people, or something like that, or that might be a deeper level of it. But it's not saying that you can't have these things present in your life, but an attachment to it. And the biggest one of people is really like significant others, like this attachment to it, where it's like this is do you prioritize that above your relationship with God? Because if you do, right, that's the thing that you're going to keep there instead of him being there, right? That's what you're keeping in your heart. That's what you're safeguarding. Um, and the beauty of the way God works, because he is eternal and he just is, and like in his spirit is just like flowing through this world because he created it. As soon as you create that empty space in your heart, what happens is that people they think, okay, if I do that, if I remove this thing from my life, what is going to fill that space, right? They go, what is going to fill that space if I take this thing out of my life? And that's a coming from a place of fear, because you're saying, well, what's going to happen? I can't do that. I can't let this go because or else I'm going to suffer. So you hold on to it. And now what's really like not paradoxical, but like uh, ironic about that is that by living like that, you're taking up space that God could be taking up instead with a spirit of love, and you're it's counterfeit and it's dead, right? And you're then taking up space that could be filled with God's love, and what you're doing is that you're preventing it from entering you. And so then at that point you are living in a place of fear. You're like, I need to keep this person in my life that I love, or else I'm screwed. It's like, well, then you're not coming from a place of love to begin with. You're coming from a place of fear. You're like, I need this thing in my life or else. Like, how could that? You might love that person, but you in a counterfeit way, though it would seem, because you're it's like a quota that your heart has to meet or something, and you're like putting change on yourself. Like, I can only be happy, I can only feel love if I have this person. But then what you're doing is you're outsourcing that to other people. You're not. You should outsource your love to the source of love, which is God, right? And I'm not saying you can't have people in your life that you love, right? But um, like the old saying, like if you love them, let them go. Um, that's really true. Not saying like, oh, if you love somebody, actually just like get them out of your life. That's of course not what I'm saying. Um, that's interesting. computer cut out there for a sec. But what it's saying is like really, I think what it really means is like if you really love them, you'd be okay with letting them go because because them staying in your life was never a condition for you to love them. Because if it is, that means that you only love them for what they provide for you, and then as soon as they're gone, it's like then you don't have what they were giving you anymore, and now it's like, and so you can't afford to do that, right? And you want to like keep them there. You want to just like if you could, you'd hold them right where they were and they never leave. That's not free. Love is free, right? And especially from God, and he gives it out like Halloween candy. So if you have, and that's like I'm talking about relationships in that one, but if you have anything where you're like if like a career aspiration, any sort of goal, any sort of you know developed idea about your own personality, if you have anything in your heart that's saying like I can't not be this thing, you're living from a place of fear. And now what happens if you get rid of that, and this is where you have to trust this. You really just have to have faith. This is where faith in God really comes in. This is what faith in God is about. Is like, will God fill that space in my heart if I leave? If that thing leaves my heart, and God, because like I said, He's everywhere, so He does fill that space like a vacuum, right? You create that space, and God flows right in. He just like it moves like this. He comes direct, like as this goes out, He moves in and takes His place immediately. So as you detach from more things, ideas about yourself, people in your life. And this is not about like I'm not saying completely removing everything. I'm just saying like detaching from a place of like using them as a crutch or like being um, like bound to them emotionally or relying on them for validation or whatever it is, right? Like or to feel really good and then call it love, right? Or like to just to feel pleasure and then call it love, right? Um, but once you get rid of the career aspirations, the attachments to the people, things, to ideas about yourself, whatever it is, right? Like, um, your heart can be filled with the presence of God only, and then you can enjoy all these things freely because when they come in, you're like, oh, I'm blessed right now because I'm already satisfied. I'm already satisfied, and now I've been given more, right? So I'm blessed in that way. And then when those things leave, you go, well, I'm still I'm still God is still dwelling in me, so it's like nothing really ever changes. I'm gonna be honest, the process is almost like it can feel dampening at times because you're just like good things happen and then you're like, oh, like great. This is great, but like you understand that your gratitude and your appreciation for God in your life trumps everything else so heavily that you're just like I'm saying you don't enjoy things anymore. Don't get me wrong, you definitely do, but the things you enjoy are so much simpler. They're so much simpler, and they're more frequent, and it's more steady in that way. And that's how people really want to live, for the most part. They want something that's steady that they can rely on, that is there, and they don't have to question or second guess. And uh, what better way to do that than to have a relationship with God, so yeah, if you think if your heart is going cold and it's filled with a bunch of stuff, that's because there's no room for the heat, you know um, take all that take all that stuff out of your heart and let the true source of light, the true source of heat, the Holy Spirit enter your heart, that spirit of love, and I, like doing that. It's if the more I try to explain how to do that, the more it's going to sound like I'm giving you like a step-by-step process on how to do that. I would really simply say just do it. Like seriously, if you keep, because then you're just outsourcing your own spiritual work to me. I'm just here to like prompt you and get you to start, uh, maybe uh, giving more time or more a little bit more of your energy to considering this. But um but yeah, it's not okay. First you got to do this. You got to meditate to this instrumental beat, and you got like no, it's like you just have to sit down and like really examine the things in your life and be like, why do I want this? Like why do I want to date this person? I've done this before. where I was like, oh, like I really need to date somebody. And then I like find a girl that I was like kind of interested in, and then I get her to like me, and then as soon as I get her to like me, I'm like, I just lose interest. I'm like, what? Like, what kind of sick and twisted? That's because I had an attachment to this idea of like being in a relationship. But then when it came down to it, I was like, wait, I don't know if I actually want to be in a relationship with this person, and that was like totally unfair for me to do. And I mean, I go on about that, but like the point is that like I was attached to the idea of being in a relationship, and I wasn't actually coming from a place of love with that girl. I was really, what I was doing was just using her to like try to fill a spot in my life, to check a box, right, to take up, more space in my heart, because I thought that's like, oh yeah, I need this thing, and that's just me outsourcing my happiness. But then it was like my intuition that told me like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. So I kind of like slowly sabotaged it. I didn't just like tell her, hey, sorry up front. I kind of just like stopped. So I just, the messages dwindled, and I just kind of stopped sitting next to her in class and all this stuff, and just kind of really like lame shit. Um, so, uh, so yeah, I mean, I kind of go back to that because I think that's a super common one, because everyone's like, I feel like it's on a lot of people's minds. And that's like a really slippery slope when it comes to attachment. But like even things like, why do you have why do you need your promotion at your job so much? If you really want it, that's fine. But like, have you ever asked yourself why? I fall into the trap too. Like, I need more money. I need more money. And I'm like, I, I don't make a lot of money right now, but I have I have enough money to pay my rent, to pay my gas, and to feed myself, and to like go on a like I know what to budget for trips, so I can go on trips for kind of cheap. And like I'm like, what? I guess it would be nice to have a little bit more, I guess, for some thing or two, but like, why do I really like? Ooh, like, why do I really need that? Like, what am I really gonna do with that? I mean, there are things I could do with it for sure, but like, if I don't do these things, like, is my life like, am I like, could I not achieve the goals of my life? Like, I don't think so. Right? Because if I'm coming from a place of love and that's really how I operate, then like the my my most valuable currency, I have unlimited of. All I have to do is just let God's love flow into me and let it flow out of me. We'll talk about that too for sure. But outside of like time in the physical world, like time being your most valuable resource on this world, love is the thing. It's almost not even like a currency. It's not like I've already tapped into that. So like that's the ultimate. That's like the purest form of energy, right? So you know, um, your time, money, emotions, all that stuff is just one form of manifestation of your energy, and uh, it all comes from like it all comes from the same place, right? And this manifests differently, and you can do different things with different types of it, but you can transmute those types of energy. So you can turn money into, you know, emotions, and vice versa, and all these types of things. And we're gonna get into that later in another video. But yeah, if you tap into your source of love and you let that into your heart, then you don't. Then everything that you thought you needed just kind of like really, really loses its appeal. It's not that you don't like desire those things anymore, but you can really do without them, and that's the type of freedom that is just like blissful. Like knowing you already tapped in, knowing you already have it, it's already in you. And I've said that before, and I'll say it, keep on saying it. And God just gives it away. So you just gotta just humbly receive it and say thank you. Do that every day, and I think you'll be all right. um, but that's how I think. That's how I feel right now. I'm pretty convicted on that. we'll see. You know, I hope that resonates. I hope that resonates deeply because I've found it monumental to my development of my faith, and just my relationship with God and just my overall well being. Uh, it's like redefined how I live my life. So, um, yeah, just notice that pattern that exists spiritually through you, and just know that's not an accident, and that you can. It's like the idea of living in fear is completely. I think it's completely optional. You just have to stop uh, living with this notion that the things around you validate who you are, and know that you were already validated, that God already sacrificed himself for you. So there's no judgment or nothing that this thing in your life can, or any title can give you, because it's like you like your judgment, the judgment was already taken for you, right? On your behalf. So you don't have to worry about it. Like you don't have to become good enough or anything like that. Like you were already deemed so. So just accept the love and let it flow through you. Not to sound like, not the hippie max, but come on, for real. Um, yeah, I feel like if I keep talking, I'm just gonna keep repeating myself. But yeah, yeah. Heat, cold, fear, love. Drink milk. Peace.